Week 11 NFL predictions. I'm not wasting any time here. I'm getting right into the picks, so here we go. Thursday night football, the Titans and the Packers. The Packers are coming off of an overtime win against the Cowboys, which, by the way, I told you the Packers were going to beat the Cowboys last week, and we see the return of vintage Aaron Rodgers. But I got slandered in the comments section over it. 3 touchdown passes for Rodgers last week. Comeback win in overtime. Pretty vintage to me. And now they host a Titans team that, after looking at the Titans the last couple of weeks, they have nobody elite other than Derrick Henry. So as long as the Packers contain the running game of Derrick Henry, it's going to be a long evening for the Titans. And I like the Packers to pick up some momentum from last week and carry it into Thursday night. As the week prior, we saw the Bucs have a season-saving win against the Rams, and last week the Packers with their season-saving win over the Cowboys. I like the Packers making 2 in a row. Next, we have the Bears and the Falcons. And be warned before I make a pick, when I pick the Falcons to win a game this season, they have lost so far this year. And when I pick them to lose, they often surprise me and win. So, just a forewarning before I make my pick here. But I am going with the Bears because Justin Fields has had the hot hand these last several weeks. And I like that to continue against the Falcons defense that cannot stop the run whatsoever. Browns and the Bills. The Bills are looking to get back on the winning track after losing their last 2 games to the Jets and the Vikings. And I think that the Browns, they could potentially at least cover, because I believe the line is 8.5 right now. I would not be surprised if the Browns, if they were leading in the fourth quarter by handing the rock off to Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, if that Browns running game keeps them in this game start to finish. But this is a Bills team that is very angry. Losing 2 in a row, you're the Super Bowl favorite, at least you're the public Super Bowl favorite, and you've dropped 2 games in a row. The Rams at one point had a 3-game losing streak and still won the Super Bowl last season. So there's no panic for Buffalo. I think the Bills win this week, get back on the right track, but I would not be surprised if the Browns pulled off an upset against the Bills, because the Browns, they are a team full of surprises this season, a team that is really up and down. Eagles and the Colts. Now, this game is going to be a lot more interesting than what I thought it was going to be a couple weeks ago. A couple weeks ago, I thought, okay, the Eagles are going to pounce the Colts like 31-7. But it's going to be a lot closer than that. The Eagles are coming off of their first defeat of the year against the Commanders on Monday Night Football, where the Commanders, they kept the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands throughout most of that game. Over 40 minutes in time of possession. They handed the rock off to Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson. And they were converting third downs to increase the drives, to eat more of the clock up. And I expect the Colts to do a lot of the same. We saw the return of Jonathan Taylor last week as he had a phenomenal game against the Raiders. And I expect Jonathan Taylor to get at least 30 carries in this game, if not more. Because for the Colts to win this game, Jonathan Taylor's going to have at least 30 carries. And even with 30 carries, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think the Eagles will win this game, but it's going to be closer than what a lot of people expect. The line right now is at 6.5. And I'm not really a fan of lines, but I would not mind, throwing some coin on the Colts covering the 6.5. Because I think this is a Colts team that can actually keep it to within a field goal in this game at the very least. Jets and the Patriots. Now, the first time these two scored off against each other, this was a game the Jets could have won. But Zach Wilson made too many mistakes in that game. Now, both these teams are coming off their bye week. And I'm going with the Patriots. Even though the Jets have been a surprisingly good team this season, I just think they're going to get, they're going to have a reality check this week. Because the Patriots, they have had some momentum since the loss to the Packers in overtime early in the season. And then they got on a winning streak, had momentum going, but then they had a slight speed bump, and that was Justin Fields right when he was going on his tear. I'm going to pick the Patriots to win this game off of a big game by Ramondre Stevenson, which if you're a fantasy player, Ramondre Stevenson, 100% a league winner. Rams and the Saints. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Bucks season-saving win against the Rams. Last week, Packers season-saving win against the Cowboys. This week, despite Cooper Kupp not being in the picture, he was placed on IR. I think the Rams are going to go into New Orleans, pull off the upset, and that is a season-saving win for the LA Rams. I think this could potentially be the game that we finally see Allen Robinson break out. We've been waiting the entire season for Allen Robinson to really start to break out. And this week, I think there is a strong potential for that with Cooper Kupp out of the picture. The target share is going to open up for Allen Robinson, even Tyler Higbee. I'm going with the Rams. Lions and the Giants. Now, the Lions, they are on a 2-game winning streak. So they have a lot of confidence right now with upset wins against the Packers and the Bears in back-to-back weeks. Now, they struggled to stop the run against Justin Fields. But a lot of people have struggled against Justin Fields in these last few weeks. Saquon Barkley is having a really good comeback season. But this Lions defense, they have held their own throughout a lot of the points in this season. And the Lions are confident. Dan Campbell is the right man for the job in Detroit. And I think the Lions, for the third consecutive week, pull off another upset win. I'm interested to see what the running game is going to look like for Detroit in this matchup. DeAndre Swift has been back for a couple of weeks now, but they haven't been giving him the full workload. Jamal Williams has been getting a lot of touches these last few weeks with DeAndre Swift back in the lineup. So could this potentially be the week where we see DeAndre Swift take on a bigger workload? Next up, you have the Panthers and the Ravens. And I'm going to go with the Ravens. It's been revealed that Baker Mayfield will be starting at quarterback for the Panthers. But I just want to point out with the current line of the Ravens at -12, I just have a sneaking suspicion that that is too many points to take the Ravens to cover in. Because the Ravens, they have had a tendency this season to blow big leads at home. And with the Panthers constantly running the football with Donta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, I think the Panthers, they could cover this spread here of -12, if not win outright with the running game, like with what the Commanders did last week on Monday Night Football with Brian Robinson Jr. and Antonio Gibson. I'm picking the Ravens, but if there was a crazy upset to happen this week, it would be this. Because I feel like Vegas and the sports books, they're trying to trap people here. They're trying to bait people into taking Baltimore to cover. But I'm picking the Ravens. Commanders and Texans. The Commanders are coming off of an emotional win on Monday night against the Eagles. And I was so close to picking the Texans to pull off the upset here. But I'm going with the Commanders. I think it's going to be a touchdown victory. The Texans, they have struggled all year long. They do have some bright spots, such as Dameon Pierce at running back. Nico Collins has had a couple of positive moments this year. Brandon Cooks demanded a trade at the trade deadline and wasn't granted one. But he was involved in the game last week for the Texans. But I am going with the Commanders. As the Commanders, they are a very underrated team. By beating the Eagles, beating the Packers, they came close to beating the Vikings. Raiders and Broncos. This week for the Broncos is also going to be a season-saving win for them. As the Raiders, they're just coming off of a loss to the Colts and Jeff Saturday. Josh McDaniels, he needs to be gone And I'm surprised they didn't fire him after losing on Sunday to the Colts. He should have been fired yesterday, as it is Tuesday when I'm recording this. But I'm picking the Broncos to win this one. The Broncos defense has held their own almost the entire season, if not the entire season, as the Broncos defense has been a big reason why the Broncos are not 0-9 at this point in the year. Cowboys and the Vikings, and this is going to be, personally, in my opinion, the game of the week. I know we have the Chiefs and the Chargers coming up, and it's always a good matchup when Mahomes and Herbert square off. But the Vikings, they are 8-1 this season, which I didn't expect the Vikings to have this good of a record. I thought that maybe they could be probably first in the North. I thought they could be like maybe 6-3, but not 8-1. And they take on and the Vikings take on a Cowboys team this week that's coming off of a heartbreaking loss to the Packers in overtime. And I expect a lot of points scored in this game, even though the Cowboys defense has looked like an elite defense throughout most of the year. I expect a lot of points. I expect this to be a 35-31 type of game. And I'm liking the Cowboys in this matchup. The Vikings are coming off that emotional win against the Bills. A game that the Vikings, they stole. As the most shameful ending of all time happened last week between the Vikings-Bills, where all the Bills had to do was just really do just a quarterback sneak or something to run the clock out. But Josh Allen fumbled the snap. It led to a defensive touchdown for the Vikings, and the Bills kicked the game-tying field goal to send it overtime. The Vikings kick a field goal. Then Josh Allen throws a game-ending interception. The Vikings steal that win. So I'm going with the Cowboys. Bengals and the Steelers. The Bengals are coming off their bye week. And this might be a pick I regret, but I am going to go with the Steelers to pull off the upset. As TJ Watt came back last week, and that ignited a spark as the Steelers beat the Saints. And with TJ Watt in the game, I think it gives the Steelers a major spark. I think the Steelers pull off the upset. I think that this is going to finally be the game that we see Najee Harris break out. As he did have a good game last week, Jaylen Warren, he did get a significant amount of touches in that game. So I'm going to go with the Steelers. Chiefs and the Chargers on Sunday Night Football, as it's always a matchup that lives up to the hype when it's Mahomes and Herbert. But I am going to predict another high-scoring game between these two teams. I would not be surprised if this went into overtime, as the last time these two teams squared off, the second time in the season they faced off, it went into overtime, and it was one of the best games of the regular season. And I think the Chiefs win this one in overtime. I think the Chargers, they're going to hold their own in this game. Justin Herbert's going to keep them in it. But we're going to see him go back and forth. It's going to come down to who wins the coin toss. And I'm giving the edge to Kansas City in this one. And finally, Monday Night Football, the Cardinals and the 49ers in Mexico City. We don't know the status of Kyler Murray at this point. So are they going to roll out with Colt McCoy against this 49ers defense? But I think no matter what, whether if it's Kyler Murray or Colt McCoy at quarterback for the Cardinals, I'm still picking the 49ers. Because the 49ers, they're getting healthy. And when the 49ers are healthy, I think they're the biggest threat to win the NFC. Plus, we saw Elijah Mitchell start to get a significant amount of touches in the 49ers running game. So it's looking like it's possible we're going to see a running back by committee between Christian McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell, which I honestly think, this is a controversial opinion, but I really think that's a smart thing by Kyle Shanahan to do a running back by committee. Because Christian McCaffrey, he does have the injury history. Elijah Mitchell, he is coming off of an injury. So this 49ers team, the biggest threat in the NFC right now, in my opinion. Even though the Eagles have the best record, even though the Eagles-Vikings are both 8-1, I think the 49ers They are the biggest threat in the NFC. And that will do it for my Week 11 NFL predictions. Comment your predictions down below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, have a good day and enjoy the NFL this weekend. It's going to be a good one.